I'm the author of the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Maybe I should see a show of hands. How many have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Oh, good. Some of you have. Who has not yet read the book here? Oh, good. There's some customers out there. Happy to see that. So for those that have read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is the true story of my two dads. And the story begins when I was 9 years old, growing up in a little town, and I raised my hand in the 4th grade, and I went to a very rich, basically all-white school. And I said, Mrs. Gerald, when will I learn about money? And she says, money? Don't you know the love of money is the root of all evil? I said, not to me, but I'll tell you what. And she says, you're here to get a job. I said, no, I don't want a job. I just want to get rich. So she says, go ask your dad. So that's where Rich Dad, Poor Dad started. And my poor dad was the head of education for Hawaii. And I went home and I asked Dad, I said, hey, Dad, when are we going to learn about money? And he says, never. I said, why not? So the government doesn't allow us to teach you that. I said, that's kind of interesting. So he said, if you want to get rich, go talk to your best friend's father. And he's an entrepreneur, and someday he'll be a very rich man. So that's how the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad starts. When I was 9 years old, I went to my rich dad's office, being an entrepreneur, and he started teaching his son and me about why the rich get richer. And that's my financial education began. My life changed when I met this man here, Dr. R. Buckminster Fuller. This here is what Fuller is noted for. He's considered a futurist and a friendly genius. And I made the mistake of sitting down he sat down next to me, really. And it was called the Future of Business Seminar. And he sits down next to me. He says, Robert, what is your life's purpose? What is your mission in life? I said, oh, to get rich. Wrong answer. He chewed me out. He said, it's a waste of a good mind. You know, it says, why don't you do something to change the world? I said, change the world? I just want to get rich, you know. And finally, I got it. As he says, you know, I'm not here to work for me. I'm here to work for everybody else. And it was a pretty cathartic event once I realized how greedy I was. Then I studied with him for 3 years. And every time he kept asking the same question that he asked himself, what can I do? I'm just a little guy. What can I do? I'm just a little guy. He was tiny, too. So I ask all of you, what can you do? We're just little people in many ways. He passed away on July 1st, 1983, and he left this book behind. It's called The Grunch of Giants. It stands for Gross Universal Cashites, G-R-U-N-C-H. It's how the ultra-rich rip us off. I read Grunch of Giants, I understood it, because it's exactly what my rich dad was telling me. The rich are ripping us off. So at that point, I said, what can I do? I'm just a little guy. And I decided at that time I would take on grunge. And for those of you who wonder who grunge is, you may just notice that those crashes we just had, you know, we got bailed out. The rich got bailed out. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Bernanke and the president and Paulson stand up there and they say, this was a mistake. We had to save the economy. That's a lie. I hesitate to tell you that. It's a lie. They bailed out the rich. It is part of their business plan. It goes on all the time. See, ladies and gentlemen, those crashes, these bailouts are not accidents. And neither is it an accident there's no financial education in school. What my research found since 1983 is premeditated. Just as prior to the Civil War it was illegal to educate a slave, we're not allowed to learn about money in school. And when I found that out, I said, okay, it's time for me to get on with my life and start teaching. So I became much like my rich dad and my poor dad. I started teaching. And so I'm going to tell you what financial education really is. I'll start by telling you what it's not. Financial education isn't saving money and investing for the long term in the stock market and getting out of debt. Exactly the opposite of that. So my financial education began with a game of Monopoly. You know, we all know the formula: 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. So when I was 9 years old till I was about 20, Rich Dad and I and son would play Monopoly. And that's how I learned to become a rich man. Simulation is where you get to make your mistakes. You get to make your mistakes after mistakes. You just make mistakes. See, human beings learn by making mistakes, except in school you make mistakes, you're considered stupid. In business, you make a mistake, you're fired, and you make a mistake in business, you're a failure. So a person's got to find a place to make mistakes. In scientists like Edison, it was a laboratory. So the reason I learned a lot was I made mistakes playing Monopoly. That's how I learned so much. You know, once you learn it in your brain by playing games, Simulations are the way you learn. So you practice, 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 practice. You make mistake after mistake after mistake. But the reason a lot of people are not rich, they think mistakes make you stupid. It's criminal. A baby cannot learn to walk unless they fall down. You can't learn to ride a bicycle until you fall off the bicycle. So that's where our school system's letting us down. Now, you have to go to school to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, but you don't have to go to school to be rich. And here's the financial statement: income, expense, asset, liability. The beauty of this here is this. This is your report card when you leave school. My banker never asked me my grade point average or what school I went to. My banker wants to see my financial statement. And the reason most people can't get loans is they don't have a financial statement. They don't even know what it is when they leave school, even college graduates. The reason I can borrow hundreds of millions of dollars, I have a strong financial statement. It's financial literacy. And this here is very simply it's income, expense, asset, liabilities. Poor dad always said, go to school and get a high-paying job. The problem with education, they teach you to be employees. Rich dad taught me to be an entrepreneur, acquiring assets. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. Assets are very simple. You can plant an apple seed, and an apple seed grows into a tree. You harvest the apples. You sell the apples, you reinvest your profits, and you keep building an orchard. That's how you get rich. So the power of words, financial literacy begins with words, because words affect your brain. As my poor dad always said, I can't afford it. You know, in Sunday school I learned the word becomes flesh. Every time you say you can't afford it, you say, I'm poor, I'm a loser, I can't do something, I'm helpless. Rich dad taught me, how can I afford it? So when I had no money, my wife and I just kept saying, well, how can I afford it? And pretty soon your mind opens up, and that's when intelligence comes in. The most important words in money are basic. There's only 4: assets, liabilities, cash flow. That's it. That's where financial literacy starts. Assets, liabilities, and cash flow. The reason the poor and middle class grow poor is because they think their house is an asset. If you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I said several things. Savers are losers, and your house is not an asset. This came out in 1997 and 2007. The subprime market crashed, and tens of millions of people throughout the world found out their house was a liability. Look, if you use the wrong word to describe the wrong issue, you will always be stupid and broke. So don't call a liability an asset. And that's why so many people are broke. They're using the wrong words. The words become flesh. Financial literacy. Change your words, change your life. Never say I can't afford it. Ask yourself, how can I afford it? Work to acquire assets, not liabilities. But we change your words, you change your life. So the best news is, words are free. It doesn't take millions of dollars to change the world. Just change your words. Thank you very much.